Let's LARP.
The biggest LARPER of all time, Logan Paul. You've probably heard of him. He's one of the most despised people on the planet, or at least in regards to celebrities. To put it in a nice way, he's just one of the most unliked people, okay? For a ridiculous amount of reasons. This dude has become very much hard to like. Personally, to this day, I have yet to find someone with an IQ above 30 that actually enjoys any of his content unironically. Despite that fact, this strange specimen has been making videos on YouTube, Vine, etc. for like over a decade at this point. But I don't need to harp on Logan Paul's greatest hits in regards to being a kind of bad person. You know, the Japanese forest incident, the fake color blindness, music to make your ears bleed, him tasing a dead rat for some reason, him just kind of being a buffoon in all of Japan, not including the forest, and all of his alleged crypto shenanigans, to phrase it one way. You know all of these things about Logan Paul. I don't need to tell you. It's kind of hard to hear anything about the Paul family in general and not hear about their countless negative actions on this planet as a whole. They have done nothing but annoy the general masses for years at this point. However, I usually wouldn't talk about this reprobate and his actions. I mean, why would I? This is an anime channel for the most part. However, he has covered some new grounds in regards to his stupid actions, and these actions are the most performative and transparently money-grubbing actions I've seen in a very long time. And as this involves anime, technically, but more so manga, I felt the need to yap about Logan Paul for money so I can buy the new latest Invincible Versus skins. You've probably heard, because it was a big thing on Twitter, but as of late, Logan Paul is trying to kind of create a market for iconic issues of Shonen Jump. On the surface, this doesn't seem like a big deal. You know, comic issues, trading cards, etc. get graded all the time. But he's doing a similar sort of thing that we saw with the Pokemon TCG, where his presence will just inflate the costs and difficulty for fans and people who enjoy a hobby. In this case, instead of Pokemon card collecting, you know, manga collecting or like Jump collecting, it will become even more difficult as the prices for issues of Jump get higher and higher and higher, because this dude kind of wants to inflate the market. Basically, what's happening here is these issues of Jump are nowhere near as expensive as Logan Paul portrays them to be. However, through the process of something getting graded and the issues themselves getting this big seal of approval that makes them look nice and perfect, the holder of these issues of Jump can inflate the prices significantly so. By him getting these issues of Jump graded like comic books or trading cards, he's making people believe these issues should hold more value than they actually have, and in turn making that initial perceived value of Logan Paul saying these volumes are worth like 500k, it makes that perceived value come into reality. Okay, so if Logan Paul buys a random issue of Jump for a couple $100, because these issues you can find in Japan relatively cheap, okay? But then Logan Paul gets these issues graded and then says, oh, these issues are worth upwards of 6 digits. If enough people copy him and buy into that perceived value more and more and more, his initial value of those 6 digits come into reality due to this perceived rarity and importance of these issues of Jump. To make it a bit simpler, what he's doing here is, imagine I had a super rare manga issue that, you know, not many people really have, okay? But it's still relatively cheap. It's like a couple $100 at most, right? Or at least it was until I got it graded. Now this issue is graded. It has been proven to be of high quality and of high value. And in turn, I can determine its value because there aren't any other graded issues like it. Or at least not many before this point. As long as people believe the price tag I put on this manga issue, other people will buy the same issue, get it graded, and inflate this market. So when that market is inflated, I can sell my own manga issue that I bought for a couple $100, sell it for thousands, and just leave with full pockets. To explain grading really quickly, because I just keep saying he's getting these issues graded, for those of the uninitiated, let me give you an example. Usually I'd use Facecam for this sort of stuff, but hell no, retention drops when you put a face on screen. So this is a card I actually have. Okay, for the Dragon Ball Super card game, I pulled this secret rare like years and years ago, right? Me personally, I don't have this card graded, this Super Saiyan Blue Vegito, right? So the value of this card, kind of due to it being somewhat rare, has kind of hovered between 140, 100, like just above 100, below 200, within that range. However, through the grading system, someone will check the card, check if the corners are all nice, that the art isn't misprinted, that everything is perfect about the card, and the higher the grade gets, the higher the perceived value of the card is. For example, if you get a PSA 10, which is like impossible, that means it's just, you've literally got it still in the packet pretty much. Like, to get a PSA 10 for anything is borderline impossible. But if you do, it caps out at about 160 as of recently. If it was PSA 10, it goes to 600, okay? The prices for cards and collectibles like comics and stuff like that really heavily inflates due to the perceived value from grading, which, you know, there are a couple different sides to grading, whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing. This was just like an example of how grading can affect the price of something significantly. Now, take that with something that card I just put on screen isn't exactly like a high ticket item, so to speak. It's relatively not mega rare in regards to, you know, trading cards with how the market is right now, right? But imagine something like a manga volume or like a jump issue like Logan Paul has purchased, where the value he initially paid for it would be in the thousands, and then he gets it graded at a high grade. It will be worth God knows how much. And since the market isn't saturated at this point, there isn't like a bunch of like jump issues being graded is a relatively recent thing. With him getting a bunch of inventory in now before the market inflates, it is clearly just a shallow getting in early and then dumping all the issues later, or just, you know, holding them as their value rises, okay? He's just investing in this hobby, in your hobby maybe, to make money. He smells potential investment, and that in of itself is kind of scummy, whatever, sure. But this dude makes it even worse, because I haven't even mentioned the main title of the video, the LARP. The dude loves to LARP about everything. He's just as bad as friggin' Mr. Beast. It's the same as Mr. Beast, right? Logan Paul lying, saying he's like, you know, this is one of the greatest mangas of all time when referring to One Piece and Dragon Ball, talking about him reading One Piece, even though it has been proven that he's literally not reading it when holding the Shonen Jump issue. He just loves to lie and pretend, oh look, he's dressed as Luffy, he must love One Piece. No, he's lying. The same way that Mr. Beast did, and loves to bitch and moan about it on Twitter. People, you know, calling him out for saying he'd watched One Piece in the past, but then as soon as One Piece becomes relevant again because of speed, or at least in regards to, you know, more general audiences, because a lot of people who watch Speed won't necessarily have heard of One Piece, but because he's such a big fan, it become like a relatively bigger deal in regards to like a lot of more of the general audiences. Mr. Beast has to kind of throw his 2 cents and be like, yeah, I haven't even watched it. You know, I still need to watch it. I'm going to start it. You know, him just lying, even though he said in the past he's watched it. It's very stupid. However, in regards to Logan Paul, he is lying here, like LARPing, but it's more malicious than Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is doing it for favor, you know, to seem more humble. Look, he's just like us guys. We like One Piece. He likes One Piece too. Oh, One Piece is great. Logan Paul's doing it just so he can inflate his market and inflate the values of these items that he now holds. It's stupid. However, because of that, it is funny to see everyone dunk on him. All his past tweets have been community noted of him not reading One Piece, of him buying the wrong volumes, of not actually having the first ever, you know, like depiction of Luffy or something, stuff like that. It's great to see, but it also doesn't mean much because he will make a fortune from these jump issues. Even if you remove the man from the action, let's say it wasn't Logan Paul in this scenario, it was just like a nondescript celebrity, right? Someone buying these manga volumes and then parading them around, and the price of them and this new emerging market, it's clearly not for collectible purposes, okay? It sets a bad precedent. I mean, look at the Pokemon TCG and the scalper culture that has formed more aggressively over the past few years, and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And a lot of it comes down to Logan Paul's effect on it, due to him glamorizing selling cards for these exuberant prices, making it harder and harder and harder for people to get into this hobby. I myself, you know, I collect manga like every, you know, but I don't collect mega rare stuff. I just collect stuff that I like. But say I was like the biggest One Piece fan in the world, which I'm not, but let's say I was for the sake of argument, I would have been able to buy a similar volume to this for relatively cheaper. But because of Logan and the new introduction of grading, it's going to be more and more difficult to find these old historical pieces at cheaper prices, because everything's going to be graded now. The same as, like, you know, scalpers is going to happen, where everyone's going to try and snatch them up as quick as possible to get them graded and sell them for exuberant prices, instead of, you know, collecting them and wanting them to hold a historical piece of like anime and manga history in your hands. Like me personally, if I were to buy, for example, like a jump issue that had the first ever, you know, depiction of Bleach or something like that, I would want that just because it's a beautiful, like, historical piece. This is where it started. That's really cool. Not to sell it, but, you know, whatever. He's making a bag, I guess. Good for him. Prime still fucking sucks. This is just another thing that makes Logan Paul less and less likable. The LARPing, the forest, the weird shit with his dad. Plenty of stuff to not like him for. But now he's in my niche and it's pissing me off. And there's this one shot where he's explaining manga to Speed, which is funny as to me, because given the context of Logan Paul, he's probably just reading what he heard from the expert that sold him this, or he's reading and remembering what he read off ChatGPT. It's so stupid. It's like, yo, this is a manga, so it actually starts in the magazine. Whoa, as if he has any fucking clue. What a, like, genuinely weird argument I've heard in defense of just, like, Logan Paul's character. Like, Logan Paul's character through the years is like, oh, but he's good in the WWE. Okay. And I don't care if he's good in the WWE. I don't want him buying my manga, bro. What the fuck? He's still a penis. Because he's gonna, as I say, set this precedent of idiots following suit, not knowing about manga and just seeing it exclusively as a dollar sign and getting manga issues graded and stuff like that. And it's already started to happen because we've seen people buy manga volumes and grade them, which is the stupidest thing possible. The reason Logan stuff with the original issues of Shonen Jump that have like Dragon Ball and One Piece and like the first appearance of these stories in Shonen Jump, they're historical pieces. That's why they have value, and in turn they're rare because, you know, the original issues would have like degraded and been ripped up and just been lost to time. But people are getting tankobons, like volumes graded, which they get reprinted. The thing that makes this just more annoying is that you can pick up like old issues of Jump, you know, like they're collector's items and they're cheap as of right now before like the market that Logan creates gets built up a bit more. But you can just go into like collectible stores and buy them really cheap, like a bunch of different volumes, like a bunch of different issues of Shonen Jump that have been collected through the years. And it's such a shame, dude. To conclude this yap fest and to kind of TLDR it, this entire thing will do nothing except make Logan Paul more money, because he obviously needs more, despite him literally wearing millions on him at all times. His actions will make it harder for collectors who really love and appreciate like anime and manga to purchase these items and cherish them, which is, yet again, annoying. All because some dickhead who nobody actually likes decides to invest early in a new market, inflate the prices, and create a culture of grading instead of collecting, and in turn resulting in him getting more and more money. Historical pieces of manga history will become harder and harder to get your hands on, and starting a pattern of collections being formed more so for monetary value instead of sentimentality, which is what I feel like, you know, everyone wants. So yeah, like Logan Paul laps so much. Like, Jesus Christ. He put out a tweet with Shaq wearing a One Piece t-shirt and trying to clown on him. He got 3.4 million views and 3k likes. How do you f*** up that bad, dude? Like, clearly getting annoyed that everyone is making fun of him for not actually reading or watching any of One Piece, yet deciding in a very vapid and hollow way pick up these rare items just to sell on at inflated prices is really stupid. Everyone dunked on him for this. It's genuinely freaking stupid. But as a result, everyone keeps depicting Logan Paul like a celestial dragon, which I think is very funny and very fitting, because Jesus Christ, him and his entire family suck. To end this video, I hate Logan Paul. That's not a rare opinion to have. He's just came into a space that no one fucking wanted him in, just for monetary gain, which is not a new thing. We've seen it happen before. He went into the Pokemon trading card stuff, tried to break into the One Piece trading card stuff and lap his way through that, but now he's going to get into the manga issues and... that guy, man. Who the fuck actually watches Logan Paul? Next vid is probably going to be about power scalers and power scaling in general. Then I'll probably make a video about people who just make anime hate videos on TikTok, despite never watching anime. And then I'll probably make your regularly scheduled Kusakabe videos. But with that being said, toodles my doodles. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Sawed off.
Also, if you go to my Patreon, I'll make 10 more videos about Kusakabe. Peace.